Huh? Hey, I'm tryna win. I'm tryna win in the 716 and I'm making it big. I wanna live. I think I'm ready to.
Yo, what's good, man? This East Bench Podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy here, back again with another special guest in the building. Yeah. Man, this special guest right here, man, I've known this brother for a very long time. Used to play soccer together, used to hang out like daily,
All the time.
all the time. Used to be at your house, play soccer, play different games, birthdays. We'll do a lot of camping.
Yeah, the farm.
A lot of memories,
A
bro.
lot of different stuff.
A lot of different stuff. But I appreciate you for taking time out of your schedule and being here, bro. It's a pleasure. We just got a lot to catch up on because it's been a long time.
Too long.
Yeah, man.
But it's an honor, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. But yeah, bro. So before we even start this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And also, like I always say, make sure you subscribe because this podcast is for us to come together, have a conversation, get to learn from each other. I'll be having a lot of different guests, and the more we continue to push, I'll have even more and bigger guests on this show. And yeah, so let's start, bro. Just tell them who you are, and then we can get this going.
Who I am. I'm Dwight Egan. I don't know if there's any one thing that summarizes who I am, but what I think my tagline on my Instagram or Twitter or whatever is big brother, rugby player,
Right.
and public servant for my school board stuff. But
Yes, sir.
I think big brother embodies most of my identity with
Yes, sir. Bro,
demeanor.
you're a really hardworking person, bro. It's crazy how I remember when we used to play soccer. He was sick goalkeeper, and when we used to play soccer, and then we all just went to college, and you had went to college before us, and all of a sudden you just disappeared. How has everything been going for you though?
It's good. I think about our soccer days a lot,
Man,
and I think about those times. I'm 28 now, and I think when we met, I was 21, 22 maybe.
right.
I think it was 2015, 2014.
Yeah, like 2015. Yeah,
we were
because
playing soccer in
Yep.
Tonawanda.
I think it started off because Chase and I started playing in BSA
yeah,
together.
BSA.
And then from BSA, that's when everything kind of started. And we got to know Chase, and from Chase, we got to know your parents, and then we got to we got around the whole family damn near, and then we started doing a lot of get-togethers,
Yeah.
and so on. But yeah, man, and also throughout everything, let's talk about the time that you went off to college. How was that for you?
It was good, but I was in college when we met at first and when I was doing all that soccer stuff. So
Right.
2014 I went to UB, but I was a commuter. So that's why I was seemingly around all the time. I wasn't that, away when I went to UB here. I graduated in 2018, so that's why I was around.
Right.
And then I think it was 2020 where I really disappeared, and that's when I went to law school out in Albany, New York. So I wasn't around anymore for the last 3 years.
Let's talk about that. So going to Albany, living like family here, friends, teammates. How did you feel in that moment when you made the decision to go to Albany to study?
When the decision was made, I was excited. I wanted a little bit of a change up. I felt like I had
Right.
seen a lot of the same faces over and over again. And, I had been accepted to UB Law School as well as Albany. And there were pros and cons to both. But the aspect of going to a new city that I had been at before for work things, but didn't really know, it was exciting to me because I lived at home.
Right.
I played it smart. I graduated high school. I went to UB for 1 year, and then the next year I was elected to the school board of the school I went to. So the whole community, I'd known nothing but Orchard Park Central School District and our group of friends for the last, however many years of my life. And I just wanted to go outside, get some perspective, and that's exactly what I got in Albany was perspective on how I live my life here,
Right.
and what I wanted going forward. And I always knew when I went there that I wanted to come back. And even though I fell in love with the Albany region, which is something most people won't say.
Oh man, I went to Albany before, bro. All I just saw is some old buildings.
Was that just downtown Albany?
Yeah,
that's really all.
No, actually, because I didn't really see like the whole city. I went there with this one organization. It was called Push. Push, I was working with them. Just working at like a youth summer job or something.
Yep.
And then they said we're about to go to Albany to protest. And me, I'm like, man, I'm just trying to catch I'm just trying to catch like a trip, go to Albany, see how it is, but also, participate. But I didn't really know like their real purpose, why they wanted to protest so bad. Because when we got there, I just saw a bunch of people in the street, saying, whoa, just protesting. And me, on the other hand, I was just looking around the city. We went through like that tunnel. I don't know if like.
Yeah, you went under the Empire Plaza.
Yeah. I saw everything. I'm like, wow, the way it's built, crazy construction. It's just like it just looks so old to me. I'm like, man, like this is the capital of New York State.
Yeah, I mean the Empire Plaza was built in the 70s, I think.
Wow.
And the rest of it, I assume the protest was outside the Capitol building.
We got to go inside.
You got the protest inside too? Inside and outside?
We went inside, bro. I was like, man, I'm not doing this. Because I saw some people getting arrested.
They were getting arrested at the protest?
Yeah, like
they took you kids.
No, some people try to cross and go into the meetings.
Okay, yeah.
Like where
That's
like the governors or the mayors, where they have their
assembly
meetings.
People.
Yeah, some people try to go in there, continue to protest, but they would just put them in handcuffs. Yeah. Me, I'll be all the way in the back just watching. I'm like, man, I'm not trying to go there. I'm just gonna scream from here.
Yep.
And after that, I still remember that time was an amazing experience, but I wouldn't really do it again, because I just feel like when you protest, it's good. It does bring awareness, but it doesn't really bring change because people gonna continue to protest and protest.
I question the nature of protest and the method of protest these days. Like I don't know what it is. I'm not much of a protester about much anything, but I've been on the receiving end of protests. When I was on the school board in Orchard Park, through COVID, we faced a lot of protests about stuff that wasn't within our direct control based on, the laws and the stuff we had to follow during that time. But, you bring up an interesting point. It's, it seems to be about awareness, but there's got to be more than just awareness. I feel like in these days with social media and whatnot, that awareness is not the problem. It's convincing. It's winning hearts and minds.
Right.
And I don't know if most of the protests or how they're carried out these days does that.
No, that's true, bro. And the way I also look at it is that when people are protesting, right, the person that organizes that movement, some people like to just be a leader and have people following them and telling them what to say.
Yeah.
Those are some groups. I'm not saying every group. Some groups really go out there all together. Everybody's on the same page. There's no leader. There's no this. Everybody's their own leaders and speak on whatever issue that's going on. And there's some people that just do it, to feel as if I have people behind me that's doing exactly what I'm telling them to do.
Yep.
But yeah, let's keep that. So let's talk about just your experience in Albany, going to law school. Let's talk about that, because I know law school is not easy. I remember I think we had a conversation the time that you came back from break, and then you was like, man, it's hard, but still managing, still getting things done.
Law school is hard, but it's, like anything, it's manageable. But the type of person that flourishes in law school is one who doesn't do much. It's somebody who
what?
It's somebody who does a lot of one or two things. Because the sheer amount of reading you have to do just to keep pace your first year of law school is immense. you know, there really is a reason why most people who go to law school kind of disappear for the time they're there. I don't like being someone who's just doing one or two things at a time. I like to do many things at once.
Oh yeah, I remember, man. You used to post rugby.
Rugby, I came back for every school board meeting that I had in Orchard Park.
Wait, what? So you would drive 4 hours, I think, 3 hours.
It's 4 hours. Yeah, it's 4 hours. With the in-person meetings were still back here, so I would drive back. You know, I'd get permission from my professors to maybe be late the next day or something. But I would drive all the way back here for board meetings and then go back to Albany, and that was only once or twice a month, so it was doable.
Right.
But certainly nobody else in my class was doing that. But law school it's an academic exercise. It favors people who really can, grit out a lot of reading, a lot of complicated ideas. I'm very grateful I went. I don't regret a single thing about it. The people I met there are friends for life, and just a short amount of time. It kind of bonds you, going through hard things. Right. School can be a hard thing, and bonds you to people that you share that experience with. But as far as Albany itself, I think the best thing about Albany is it's the people. The region is interesting. The politics are interesting. It kind of feels like a city without, I don't want to say without a soul, but there's not much of an identity,
right? Like
Buffalo. Like one of the funniest things
so there's no like Chippewa in Albany?
Not really. Not really. No, there's a bar street that you go out and there's several bars on, but it's nothing like Chippewa. There's no clubs like that.
Right.
But one thing about when you leave Buffalo and you come back, when you're away, you realize just how crazy people are for Buffalo. Like we really sell ourselves. And it's not common in most places. Like there's 5 or 6 different Buffalo apparel brands.
That's true. That
their whole shtick is we're Buffalo. There's not really that. There wasn't really that in Albany. There were maybe 1 or 2.
Right.
And they weren't popular. Here they're popular.
You don't really know them, but here.
No, you don't. No, you don't really know them. But here, you see them at the Bills Stadium. You see them in, they got a store in every mall in the area, and people wear them. Like it's Buffalo people love Buffalo. That's
Buffalo people stand up for Buffalo, especially. Also, another thing that I think that did put Buffalo on the map is the buffalo chicken.
The chicken wings?
Yeah, the chicken wings. Yeah. Like everywhere you go, buffalo sauce.
But did you ever go to the original where they invented
where is it
wings? The story goes it was invented at the Anchor Bar in Buffalo, right by Buff Gen, the hospital area.
Yeah, I've never been there. So it's always busy.
That's where it allegedly originated. I've heard other things.
And you could say it was originated from your house. Like, we can't. They be lying, bro. They be lying.
It's possible. I've heard conflicting stories that Anchor Bar is the original home of the wing.
Godfather. Yeah. But yeah, so let's also talk about. I know when you do go to school, either to be a lawyer, there's different professions within
law.
Within law,
yeah.
There's lawyer for accidents, there's lawyer for criminal and stuff like that. So what did you study? Like what was your focus throughout law school?
It's not like undergraduate where you have like a major that you declare.
Right.
There's concentrations you could focus on. Like I think some of my friends maybe chose like I'm slipping on the word. But there's criminal prosecutors, criminal defense attorneys, like they could focus on that aspect of the classes. I kind of focused on labor and employment law because that's what the firm I had worked for previously as a legal assistant did. So I kind of figured if I wanted to go back to Buffalo and work with that firm that I might as well get versed in that area of law. But it's not really like you pick a concentration and stick with it. It's like there's a core group of classes that you have to take, And then there's a whole bunch of other electives and whatnot that you should take to, you know, then pass the bar exam, those subjects. But then there's a whole host of other, you know, topics and areas of law that you could take. Like, I mean, trust in estates is a class that you should take for the bar exam, but there's, you know, trust in estates is like when somebody dies and they have a will,
Right.
and how, you know, all their assets are distributed amongst,
Right.
you know, the survivors and stuff, all that exciting thing. There's tax law, there's
a lot.
There's a lot of different aspects, but Albany focused on, they produce a lot of public servants. So they produce a lot of like assistant district attorneys, government lawyers.
Okay.
And you know, some of my friends were, I didn't focus on that at all. I didn't want to do that path.
Oh yeah, so that path is a lot of stress though, right? District attorney, and you're dealing with people like in court in terms of like the criminals and all the above, you know.
They seem, my friends who do it seem to love it.
Oh, they love it.
They seem to love it. Like, you know, I wouldn't say there's any area of law that's not stressful in some way, but the assistant district attorneys, the ADAs that are, you know, down there prosecuting criminals every day, they like the rush, I think. I think they like the, I don't know, I'll have to send them, you know, here sometime. Maybe you can talk with them about that. But they really enjoy the aspect of litigation where they're in court and they're, you know, they're arguing, they've got, you know, they've drilled all their evidence, and they're, you know, putting people on the witness stand and trying to get out of them what they need to get out of them to prosecute the case or defend the case.
Right. So
I think that aspect of law attracts a certain kind of person, and it's people who kind of love the fight in court.
Right. So you going to school, right, and studying what you studied. Do they make sure that you guys learn all the other stuff too? So let me say, you get to learn about instead of just employment and all that.
I'll cut you off right there. No, they don't make sure.
Also, you
They don't
stick
make
to
sure.
your concentration.
Kind of.
Okay.
You have like core classes like property, contracts,
Okay.
constitutional law, you know, a host of other ones that are mandatory your first year.
Okay.
And then some you have to take by the time you graduate. But they've kind of shifted models. You know, as far as I understand it, they've shifted models to electives where, you know, you can kind of chart your own path based on the offerings. Like I was able to take a course in international law, lobbying, employment, labor, stuff like that. So
Nice.
not everyone takes the same classes.
Nice. So let's talk about just being able to go through that homework nights and everything. How was that for you? Because I know I have actually my sister-in-law. She did law school as well, and she was doing law school, and then she went through her doctor's degree. And she we used to talk on the phone. She would be like, "Glory, like I'm stressing." Like she would drink a lot of Red Bulls to study and all that. And I know you probably went through the same exact things. So let's talk about your experience throughout that process. And did you ever get to a moment where you was like, "Man, like this is too much," and you felt like giving up, but you continue to push and push?
Not really. Not with school. I never, you know, I had always been mostly good at school, since high school even. And I kind of always went into every exam, every evaluation with an attitude that this isn't going to hurt me, that there's really nothing to fear from this.
Right.
So it would dispel a lot of anxiety for me to go in pretty calm to these exams and evaluations and papers and whatnot. But the other side of that was motivation. So I think the first part was dispelling the stress and anxiety that a lot of people face in law school or school programs like that. And the other half was motivation. And my motivation was to land a career where I felt fulfilled while also being able to earn a good living. And I saw this, I can't remember where I picked it up from, but I saw somebody had like almost like a vision board, and they'd put, you know, works of art or quotes or stuff that would inspire them. And so I kind of had the same thing that I put up on my desk. And so those nights where I was sitting there and I was reading till, 2, 3 in the morning or whatever, sipping coffee, I'd look at that board and, I'd have a picture of my family. I'd have, quotes that really registered with me to keep me going, keep me motivated. And actually, one that always came to mind, I typed it out 3 times in like 72 size font. It was just the French, ça ira, it'll be fine. And I don't know why, but, staring down at your desk reading horribly boring law and wanting to go to sleep or something, I'd look up and I'd say, okay, it'll be fine. However bad the test is or whatever.
So you used to be like knocked out as you're reading sometimes.
I've fallen asleep at my desk a few times.
How many pages did you guys have to read like in a single night? You said there's a lot. It's a lot.
It varies. I mean, it might be like 200-300 pages in an evening. I'd say.
Wait, 200-300 pages a night?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. At the worst, I think.
How do you read that much page though? That's a whole book.
Yeah, I mean, your books are this big. You might have to read 80 pages for one class, 50 for another,
No way.
20 for one, and you're on a split schedule, so it's not like you have to read for the same class every night.
No, but that's too much though. So let me say one class, the professor said read 20 pages in that night.
Yeah.
So when you go to class, how much of the information do they teach?
All of it. As much as they can get through in a class. I mean, law school, and I hope I'm not mixing up the word here, because that'll be very embarrassing, but I believe it's Socratic method, where it's kind of teaching by questioning.
Okay.
And so, one of my favorite professors was the best at this. He really would drill you, like you would be on the spot. You knew he had a little list, and you'd be going through the cases. It'd be a case book. There'd be legal cases. It could be from 1880, whatever. Or it could be from
You have to
1956.
and all that.
And you have to brief the case, break it down, the facts, the parties, the outcome, why the court reasoned the way it did, and he'd put you on the spot. He'd say, Mr. Egan, what happened here in this case? And you'd brief it for him, then he'd ask you question after question.
Right.
And, kind of sweating it out in your seat. I mean, in law school, they call that a cold call. You'd sweat it out in your seat. And, sometimes people were up to par. Sometimes people were not. But it really sticks with you when you have the stress of being on the spot and, not knowing if you're up next. So you could risk it sometimes and not do your full reading. But if you get called on in class, you look, you'd be unprepared.
So let's talk about like just being unprepared. So let me say so let me say the professor comes to you, right? Mm-hmm. And they ask you something that probably you did not read. Where they're so tough on you if you was to get it wrong, or sometimes they just give you a chance to at least say something and then they'll move to the next person.
Yeah, I'd say, the latter for sure.
Okay.
Where, most professors were kind or experienced enough to know when somebody's unprepared, they're unprepared. They, you can make up as much as you want, but you're not going to get much out of that, nor will the rest of the class.
Right. Did you ever get caught in that moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you face that embarrassment? 'Cause I know some
faced
people
it head
at
on. head on. I think one of my best attributes, and this might not be good in every situation, because it's better to be prepared no matter what.
Oh yeah.
But I think I got really good at skimming really fast, figuring something out really fast in class or in the time leading up to class, and say, okay, if I get called on, I can at least give something. And that worked more than anything.
Right.
I mean, being prepared worked more than anything. But,
Yeah, being prepared is always,
But skimming and pulling out what the professor wants.
Right.
Yeah, I can do that.
Right. And also, let me say, in terms of like time management, because so we can relate it to like just being prepared and all that. So like, how did you kind of like manage your time throughout the process? and just making sure that you're actually checking everything on your checklist and making sure that everything is well taken care of.
In theory, okay, I followed a schedule blocking or like a routine
Okay.
where you'd prepare for class, you do the reading, you take your notes, you do the class, you take your class notes, and then maybe you'd spend an hour afterwards debriefing everything and fitting it into outlining is really what law students do is like have one document or one constant note and you're just adding to it the whole semester. So when it's time for the final exam or whatever, you just reevaluate or add to that by the end. And that's kind of where,
Right.
You can have little cheats on there where one thing will indicate another and it should remind you of what you learned in that moment. But like I said, that's what I did in theory. Did I do it consistently every time for every class? No. But it just depends on the topics. Maybe some of the harder topics I really had to stick to that routine. But for the ones that I registered with, like constitutional law, or contracts even, or something like that, you could get away with going to class, taking active notes, and debriefing later.
Speaking of family, like your family used to call you throughout, just your school days,
All the time.
and what were they saying to you to try to just keep you motivated and keep you going?
My mom called me the most.
Moms.
She was always worried. You know how my mom is. She takes care of people. That's what she does.
That's true.
And they'd ask a lot of questions, but they really didn't. It wasn't much about like I didn't have much doubt to share with them. It was just how's it going? What's going on? I'd fill them in on some things. Maybe I'd talk about what I learned with them because that would help to talk about it with somebody.
Right.
Especially that first year, because that first year it was still COVID. So, it was really weird mix of in-person classes, online classes, and not much community. So you really didn't have that like sitting together with other students that you had the last 2 years. So the first year, definitely talking a lot with them, but like with Chase or my other siblings, kind of telling them what I was working on allowed me to, think about it with somebody that was comforting to me,
Right. Yeah, that'd be the best time, bro, when you're in college and your parents call you, checking up on you. I feel like it gives you that motivation because now you see your purpose. You see why you're doing it. You want to make them happy, and so on. So I used to feel the same way. Like when I was in school, sometimes when my mom would call me, and they would call you and say, "Are you hungry? Oh, you should go eat."
Yeah.
Like you'd be working on your studies too much. So was there some times where like she would try to tell you like those things like you've been doing too much reading. You have to go eat.
Absolutely.
Take care of
I think it
yourself.
was funny because both my parents.
Oh yeah.
The dichotomy
Oh, your
of mom versus dad.
She used to, she be feeding people.
She still does. Still does. But my mom, the soft, gentle, nurturing one.
Right.
My dad's also nurturing, but the soft, concerned one.
Yeah.
Telling you, oh, it's okay. Maybe you can read in the morning if you're too tired. Take a day off. And then my dad, on the other hand, saying, you need to stay up. There's a bear chasing you, and you never need to forget about the bear. You can't stop.
Can't stop.
So you have to keep going. So
You're done.
It was nice getting
Right.
both sides of that motivation.
Man, speaking of your
parents.
mom, I remember I cannot lie. She's the one that actually introduced me to chicken wing dip.
Mm-hmm.
I swear.
Oh, the chicken wing dip. Yeah, yeah,
Chicken
yeah.
wing dip. That's I ate chicken wing dip at your house. That was the
Yeah.
first time I ate that. And since then, man, it's been like anybody that makes chicken wing dip, I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna come visit and just eat.
You
chicken
have
wing
to. I
dip.
mean, she makes it for every Bills game. So
And eat chicken wing dip. Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, so let's now just talk about just the school board. I wanted to actually talk about that as well. So throughout like the school board and everything that you're doing in Orchard Park, what is like your main focus throughout like that community?
So I'm actually I stopped serving on the Orchard Park School Board in 2022, but I continued on with Erie to Chautauqua Cattaraugus BOCES, and I know that's a mouthful. But are you familiar with BOCES districts? You know, like the vocational and special education. No. Well, BOCES stands for Board of Cooperative Educational Services.
Okay.
And they're this, fascinating branch of, the education institution in New York State that serves mostly vocational and special ed students. But essentially, like my Orchard Park School District is a component district of my BOCES. So 28 school districts make up our BOCES, but we have our own buildings with our own programs. And it might be something like CAD, auto body work, construction, athletic training, coding now, I believe, a whole host of vocational pathways. And
what really got you so interested in that career?
so it's funny. It comes back to soccer.
Okay.
Like everything does in life. It comes back to soccer. I was coaching Chase's soccer team at the time, I think, and the current president of the Orchard Park School Board at the time came up to me one day after practice. Her kids were on the team, and she said she was thinking of stepping down. She had served like 3 terms in a row, which is pretty impressive.
How long are those terms?
They're 3-year terms.
Or just
So I served 2 in Orchard Park, and I'm on my I'm on my 3rd. I think I'm on my 3rd in BOCES, but I served both at the same time.
Okay.
This is my 8th year total. But she had said, I think you have an interesting personality. You're good with the kids. You're still in this community. And I think it would be interesting to have a perspective of a recent graduate on the school board. So I think you should give it a try. And I started going to the meetings and watching them. And, I was 19 at the time. I just graduated from the place the previous year. But I had always appreciated my teachers and the school staff. I really admired most, if not all, the people I came into contact with there. And I still cared about my siblings and their education. Right. And there were some trends in education I didn't like. There were some things I didn't understand that I wanted to get involved in. And so I ran, and, I won. And it's been 8 years later, and I learned something new every year about it. But the why is just a sense of community.
So you're like a president of the school board.
I was vice president of the Orchard Park School Board for about 3-4 years, I think.
Okay, so you was just working with like people that was actually older than you, like.
I was the youngest by 20 plus years, and
wow,
even still,
that's inspiring, bro. So that means, so all of that started from just you being a good student, and also just showing good characteristics, being a leader. And then from there, that's when she approached you and said, you know what, I think you'll be a very good candidate because of, just your recent graduate and all that. Man, that's very much inspiring, bro. That's inspiring. And now look at you.
I think it's hard to feel pride about it sometimes, because I really feel a sincere sense of duty to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I really don't see any ego in it. I appreciate that it's something that most people wouldn't do at the age or whatever, at that point of college in life, where you kind of like free time is hard.
Not
you want to spend it having fun or whatever. But I have a lot of fun doing it, and I think my board meeting every month, like actually last Wednesday was my BOCES board meeting, and we had a presentation from the Adult Education Services come in, and they gave their update on the programs and their plans for next year. But at the very end, they had one of their students talk to us for about 5 minutes about her pathway through our school. And she had the most fascinating story about getting her CDL. You know, like the driver's license
Right.
to drive like semi trucks.
The big trucks, right.
Yeah, this student who graduated, I think, a year or two ago, said she had come to BOCES for a different program, and she had a really good teacher that suggested it to her.
Right.
And she was like, I don't want to drive a giant semi truck. I can barely drive my, I can barely drive my 4-door sedan at, whatever age she was at the time, 16, 17. And she ended up graduating and becoming a truck driver, and she got on Fox News for it.
Wow.
About, taking a new look at blue collar careers. And she said she had a really good time in the program because she was, this tiny young girl, like, 17, 18, 19, in a class of 40, 50-year-old men who were getting their CDLs and retraining. But she said they were really supportive. And now she has her career.
Man, now she has.
And it's really touching. Every meeting, I swear, there's at least one story just like that in our programs. And it fills me with a sense of gratitude that somebody sat in that seat where I sat to help put me through school, to chart the course for the schooling that I got. And now it's my turn to do the same for, the kids that are coming through now.
Okay. So when you say put you through school and so, what other duties do you take upon? In terms of let me say students come to you or they come to those meetings to speak, what other things do you do for them in order to help them out?
There's not that much direct contact with students necessarily from the board table.
Right.
Unless they come to the meeting and talk, like you say. It really depends on how proactive you are as a board member. And so when I first got elected, I was 20. It was actually the day after my 20th birthday that the election was. And I think the beauty of being young at that age and doing it is that I had a lot of spare time and a flexible schedule with university classes to go and do things where perhaps other board members don't have the time because they have children, they have full careers at the time. And I signed up for all kinds of trainings and seminars and stuff across the state. And I would do audit training through the New York State Comptroller's training, through the New York State Comptroller's office in Cuba, New York, where they used to set the price of cheese in Cuba, New York. It was the greatest cheese producer in the world for a while.
In the world?
In the world. Wow. Cuba, New York.
In New York. How far is it from?
It's an hour south of here.
Okay.
You should, it's a very small town. There's not much to do.
Right.
But if you do, the history of it is fascinating. But I found myself at places like that in Cuba or, education trainings in Rochester, and then Albany is really where, before I went to school there, I would end up going there about once or twice a year for what they called were commissioners' roundtables, and they'd have a meeting with the commissioner of education and maybe 30 other school board members from around the state, and they discuss, high-level policy, like school safety and security in 2018 after the Parkland shootings, to substantial equivalency, which is about parochial schools and other things. But you're not really doing much face-to-face with students. I really think it comes down to the proactivity of the individual board member to serve on committees in the district. Like you can serve on, as a school board member, personnel or policy where you're reviewing stuff closer with teachers and administrators, or through our advocacy organizations like the Erie County Association of School Boards.
Okay.
They have a legislative team, a committee, where their sole extra purpose outside of school board meetings is to gather our legislative interests and talk with our politicians locally or in Albany or even federally sometimes. So in terms of things done for the students, the first aspect was just the typical stuff you do at the board table in the meetings, but the secondary part of it for me was participating in the extra stuff through the county associations, through, whatever extra thing I could sink my teeth into.
Right, to try to, make them feel heard, make them feel heard. But yeah, bro, and also let's actually, because I want to tune into your family business, because I know you guys have the Christmas
The Christmas tree farm, yeah.
Yeah, and Christmas is approaching. So
Almost that time.
actually, for those that's gonna be watching this and you want to buy a Christmas tree for your family, this is the man to contact. You feel me? But yeah, let's talk about just the Christmas tree, bro, because I've been there before and I've planted a tree.
You planted trees, not just one.
And I have a tree at my house.
Yep.
The one that you gave me.
Yep.
I still have it.
You still kept it?
It's growing, bro.
How big is it now?
Because you told me it takes about 10 years.
Yes, yeah, that's
It takes
true.
about 10 years.
7 to 10 years to grow a
yeah.
Christmas tree.
Yeah, so it's like right
It's
here.
it's a longer term investment than most things.
Exactly. But it's, it's original. You feel me? It's original. You say Christmas, it's a Christmas tree. Beautiful tree.
It's at Egan's Regal Evergreens on Instagram. That's
Okay.
the tagline.
I'm gonna actually take the clip of this video and we're gonna promote that
Perfect.
for everybody to see. So like about the Christmas trees and so on. So let's talk about that business. How is that business going for you?
It's going well. It's going well. I don't know if I'm the singular representative of the
No,
the
for
family
you
farm,
and the family. Yeah.
but my dad is the one who's really the driver, and then Lincoln, Lincoln is the ultimate farmer of the family. There's five Egan siblings, and we all have our thing.
Oh yeah. I
And
know.
Lincoln's thing is the farm.
Lincoln is
And
the
he's
farm,
the best
man.
at it. He deserves
sir.
it. But it's going well. It's going well. This is going to be our second year where we're selling to the public,
Okay.
because previously we had just opened and sold to select family and friends, because we didn't have enough stock. But this year we have a good stock, so we're gonna open up, and it's a U-cut tree farm. So people come, we hand you a saw, and you walk out in the field. You're gonna pick your tree, and you cut it down.
Right.
You get the kids or whatever, and you say timber when you knock it down, and then
Oh yeah, you have to say timber.
you have to say timber. That's
What
Those are the rules.
What does that like?
I'm not sure the origins of it, but like when a lumberjack cuts down a tree, they shout timber.
Oh, okay.
It's a real vintage American thing.
How big are those trees right now? Like for the people that might want to kind of like visualize and see exactly.
I mean, the ideal Christmas tree size, or the average, is about 6 feet.
Okay.
So we have trees ranging from 4 to 8 or 9 feet.
Okay.
So we've got the full range of what somebody might want in their the corner. Maybe you put yours in the studio corner.
Man, because for the studio, I'm trying to get a tree, but I don't want like a real tree, because I want to do like different shoots and so on. So I need like that little fake, like the fake one where
You
I
can
could-
really bend and
yeah, I
stuff.
could really bend and all that. Because if I was to get a real one, then I would have to. It would have to be like in a filmy home. But yeah. So and also like throughout. When people do go there, like, do you guys have like specific times they have to get there? And
Oh, we're doing Thanksgiving weekend,
okay,
and then the first weekend of December we're open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
okay,
And then after that, maybe we'll stay open, maybe not. Depends on how much we've sold. Because as you know, we plant the fields at staggered times. So as we're growing, one field, one is growing for the next year, so you're not selling out the trees all the same size every year. So it depends on, how quickly we go through the stock.
right. And I'm confused, bro, because mine's taking so long to grow.
Is it indoors or outdoors?
It's outside.
It's outside. There's a lot of science that goes into it. People, we got to make sure the soil, the pH is right, the acidity,
Right.
of the soil is right for the, different kinds of trees, water content, how much sun they get, all that stuff. The growing season, sometimes, trimming it actually helps it grow in the right direction.
Right.
I'm not sure if you've trimmed your tree.
I I don't know how to trim it, bro. Sometimes I look at them like, this is my tree, man. And I'm like, should I cut it? Should I trim it? I'm like, nah, I'm not
Well,
gonna do it.
next, budding season when the, it's budding on the end of the tree, we'll come trim it for you.
Okay. So when you say budding, that's when like it's starting to like turn like a little.
Yeah, so you'll notice when the tree's growing, there's the old growth, which is darker.
Okay.
And then I think it depends on the kind of tree. Like there's, concolor, Fraser fir, Douglas fir, blue spruce,
Okay.
white pine. There's all different kinds of trees that grow in different ways and whatnot. But the old growth is darker, and the light growth in the growing season, like typically spring, and then I think again late summer,
Okay.
it'll sprout, and then usually you have to trim it so you can shape the tree. It doesn't naturally get that perfect Christmas tree shape. You have to really tend to it, or else you get some misshapen trees.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've been waiting for it to be like to get that perfect Christmas tree shape, bro. Like I've been waiting for. I'm like, man, why my tree like all spread out, man? Like it needs to come together.
Trimming. Well, I'll have to pop by after this. So.
Definitely. But yeah, bro. I'm gonna make sure I post this section of the video so that people can.
Oh, we appreciate it. It's a
tune in.
family business.
Definitely.
We don't really advertise except by family and friends. So
Yeah, you have to, bro. You have to, because we need to let people know, man, that business is not easy. You guys dedicate so much of your time, to put those trees out, and come on.
it's good stuff, though. It's good
Very
stuff,
good
though.
stuff.
I mean, I think about all the different kinds of people who have contributed to the farm over the years. Because we did start it in 2015. We were planting, and it was mostly just us. And we were really experimenting with the ideal way to do things, or even just the basic way to do things.
Right.
And so it's been a learning process, but it was, it's nice seeing how it goes, where we started off with just the family, and then subsequent years, all kinds of friends. Like I think a lot of my classmates from the University of Buffalo helped one year, like
Nice.
20 of them. All of you guys, the International Warrior Crew came out a handful of times.
We helped out, yeah.
And a few guys still came out previously to help. And, a few of my college friends who I haven't spoken to in years, who moved away,
Right.
get busy with life, but who moved away, their trees are still growing in that field. And when I'm there trimming, or, my brother's cutting, or we're doing stuff on the farm, I'm always thinking in the back of my head, the gratitude that, somebody came out and gave us a day of labor, and we had a lot of fun during it. We had the party afterwards, and
The 4-wheelers, man. I missed that, man.
the 4-wheelers and
we
the
did a
feast
lot,
afterwards.
bro. The 4-wheelers, yep.
Yeah, so we all got to make a really fun memory, and it's tough. Sometimes I don't even want to sell the trees. I
Yeah.
don't want to cut them down.
No, I feel
It'd be nice to
you.
have a private forest, but that's not what it's for.
I know, because you can see, like, when you look at it, it just brings all that memory back.
Yeah.
And also, so if someone was to buy the tree and keep it in their house, how long does it last? Or would they have to use the next?
The average Christmas tree lasts, a month,
Okay.
month and a half, I think. It depends on how well you water it. And, there's like nutrient packets you can put in the bottom in the water that'll, keep it going like a potted plant.
Oh, so when you put it down, it has to be like somehow in some water.
Yeah, so
keep the
typically
tree.
the stand, the vintage stand that our family has is kind of like a cross, and then it's off to the side, and you tilt the tree and you put a bucket of water under it every day, and you refill it every day, and the tree sucks it up, and that's how it stays green and vibrant, so it's not dropping needles in your house.
Okay. All right. Definitely, man. Get you a Christmas tree. You feel me? Don't hesitate, because it's gonna be worth it. Christmas is around the corner, and I appreciate you for stopping by, bro. It was a pleasure having you. And before I actually let you go, I like for all my guests to give a word of motivation to the youth. So, what would you say to the youth in order for them to continue going and pushing? And just achieving everything that they want to achieve throughout their future?
That's a good one, but a tough one. I'd say be consistent. Be consistent in your effort. I think at times, everybody's going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to not really know what you're doing when you're doing it for the first time.
Right.
When you're young, but the consistency will get you there. You know, you'll have to adjust to mistakes, to, you know, tough circumstances, but consistency in trying, consistency in your character, who you are to other people. You're allowed to make mistakes with people if you're kind to them, if you're considerate to them, if you know, if you act in good faith, if you have the best interests of yourself and everyone else in mind, they'll respect you for it.
Right.
And you can stick to a goal and achieve it, no matter what mistakes you make.
Hey, man, so never be afraid to make mistakes.
No.
Because mistakes are just part of the process, you know, just keep going. Never give up, stay consistent, man. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate your time and just being here. This was an amazing, you know, sit down, just having a conversation, catching up on a lot of different things. But yeah, man, y'all go ahead and hit the subscribe button, man. This is Easy Pinchot Podcast with your one and only host, you know, Glory Boy here with Mr. Egan. You feel me? And we outside. Let's go.